The Price of Obedience, a story of family, betrayal, and the ultimate truth. Prologue, The Illusion of Debt. I'm Alina Vance, 31 years old. For 8 years, 8 exhausting, endless years, I handed my parents $2,650 every month in rent, all just to live in the damp, slightly finished basement of their house. They insisted it was the fair market rate for our fancy neighborhood. They insisted they were barely scraping by, buried under a massive mortgage, and that my rent was the only thing keeping us afloat. I took their word for it. It never crossed my mind to dig deeper, because that's just not what a loyal daughter does. You trust the people who raised you. You don't hand them a magnifying glass and ask them to prove themselves. Then last month, everything crumbled. One sleepy morning, I went to grab the mail and ran into Mrs. Clara Henderson, our elderly neighbor, shuffling down the sidewalk with her watering can. She smiled. "Alina, so nice to see you. Your parents must sleep so well now that they own that gorgeous house outright." I forced a smile, but my chest clenched. "What do you mean, Mrs. Henderson, outright?" "Oh, honey," she laughed, adjusting her sun hat. "They paid off the whole mortgage back in 2014. Your father threw a little barbecue to celebrate. My late husband was jealous for weeks." That was a full year before I moved into the basement. 1 year before that formal lease went across the table. So for 8 years, I just kept paying $254, $400 altogether. $250,000 for a mortgage that didn't exist. I didn't say anything that night. I hired a forensic accountant instead. What he found wasn't just about what my money had paid for. It exposed exactly which family member had helped my parents keep up the lie. Chapter 1. The Hierarchy of Oak Brook. I grew up in a spotless, double-story colonial in Oak Brook, just outside Chicago. Around here, the lawns are surgically trimmed, home prices are sky-high, and no one ever talks about the mess swirling behind closed mahogany doors. To everyone else, the Vances looked like the ideal upper-middle-class family. My dad, Arthur, used to be an aerospace consultant, sharp, cold, everything he said dropped like law. My mom, Alina, never held a job but was an absolute artist with guilt. She could slice you open with just a sigh and a look. And Victoria, my older sister. She's 3 years ahead of me, tall, magnetic, practically glowing with confidence. She never needed to work to be the center of the universe. She just was. Victoria was the golden child. I was just a shadow on the edge. One memory sticks, even now. My 17th birthday. I set my university acceptance letter right next to my dad's plate, hopping for something, anything. I'd won a 50% merit scholarship to a prestigious school. That felt huge. I just wanted one approving word from him. He never looked up from his steak, just cleared his throat. Victoria got her offer today. Full ride, every penny covered. "That's great, Victoria," I mumbled, already shrinking inside. "I got 50%, so." 50% is still a bill, Dad shot back, finally meeting my eyes. "Victoria reached the goal, you didn't. Learn from your sister." It wasn't until years later that I learned the truth. Victoria never got a scholarship. Her exam score wasn't enough. My parents just paid her tuition, all of it, while I had to take out loans. They invented that story just to keep Victoria on top and me clawing for scraps. My mom's tactics were gentler but no less deadly. If I cried from all the pressure, she'd sigh, rub my shoulder and say, "You're just so sensitive, Alina. Toughen up. The world isn't going to pamper you like we do." They convinced me that a warm meal and a roof during childhood was saint-level generosity. By the time I left for college, I believed I owed them for everything. My life, my failures, the sheer effort it took to love me. Chapter 2. The Basement Contract. In May 2015, I graduated with a corporate finance degree and $45,000 in student loans. Real jobs were thin on the ground. I scrambled, applied everywhere, and finally landed a spot as a junior grants analyst at a nonprofit in town. Salary? $42,000. After taxes and insurance, that left about $2,850. "You should move home," my mom crooned on the phone. "Rents in Chicago are criminal. Move into the basement. Save money. Pay off loans. It's only smart." Sounded like a lifeline. The basement had a side entrance and privacy. It wasn't glamorous, but it was safe. I believed she wanted to help. But the minute I hauled my first box through the door, everything changed. My dad sat at the table, stone-faced, and slid a piece of paper at me. "We need ground rules," he said. "We love you, but this isn't a charity. Here's the lease. $2,650 a month, first day each month." I stared, my heart sinking. "Dad, that's almost my entire paycheck. I'll barely have anything for food, loans, gas." He didn't budge. "You'll learn how to budget. We have a big mortgage, Alina. You're an adult. Time to contribute." My mom squeezed my shoulder. "We're doing you a huge favor. A corporate landlord wouldn't care if you were safe." I bought my own groceries, cooked on a hot plate, did my laundry in the utility sink. But guilt and fear kept me obedient, so I signed. I set up the transfers, $2,650 every month to their account, rent mortgage support in the memo every time. I told myself it was just for a year, then maybe 2. The years bled together. Every single payment left a paper trail just waiting for a reckoning. Chapter 3: The Parallel Lives. I threw myself into my job. First in, last out. I climbed from junior analyst to senior director, then to head of compliance. My salary grew $42,000 to $78,000, but my world stayed small. Basements and water heaters, the same concrete view. After 5 years, I asked my father for a rent break, thinking I'd earned it. He laughed. "Inflation, up, the estate costs a fortune. You're lucky we haven't raised the rent." Victoria's life, meanwhile, was a highlight reel. She became a top accountant, opened her own practice, bought a high-rise downtown. My mom bragged at Sunday dinners. "We gave her $80,000 cash for the condo," she said, beaming. "She deserves it." And there I was, paying a massive chunk of the family bills, stuck in a basement, listening to them pat themselves on the back for giving Victoria everything. I wanted to say something, to flip out, to demand why all my effort went to fund Victoria's luxury while I got lectures. But old fear always won. If I fought back, maybe they'd cut me loose for good. So I kept quiet. I just paid up, took the blame, and told myself I was strong for surviving it. Then, one night, I saw a photo Victoria posted, her on her condo balcony, holding champagne. 3 years in my urban sanctuary, forever grateful to Mom and Dad for making my dreams come true. 3 years. The timeline hit like a truck. My parents poured thousands into her glamorous life, while wringing every nickel from me. That night I didn't yell. I didn't text. Something snapped, but in a cold, calm way. In 3 weeks, I found a little apartment, packed my boxes, and moved out without a word while my parents were out of town. Chapter 4: The Unraveling. 6 months later, the old guilt tugged me back to Oak Brook. Mom left voicemails. "Leaves are clogging the gutters, Alina, and your dad's back can't handle ladders." So that's how I ended up, one Saturday, pulling wet leaves out of flower beds. That's when Mrs. Henderson showed up at the fence, holding her garden shears. "Alina, I haven't seen your car in ages." "Hi, Mrs. Henderson. I moved to the city, just helping with yard work." She beamed. "Your parents must be so proud, owning this big place with no debt. Nothing to worry about now." I dropped my trowel. "Mrs. Henderson, you mentioned that before, about 2014. Are you sure?" She didn't hesitate. "Mid-April 2014, Arthur showed my husband the satisfaction of mortgage letter, bragged about never owing the bank again. Great day for him." My mind raced. Numb, I excused myself and drove back to my apartment. Once there, I logged straight into the Cook County property database. One search, one click, mortgage fully paid, April 12, 2014. No liens, no debt. 8 years, $2,650 a month, and the whole story had been a lie. In all, my parents took $254,400 from me under false pretenses. I sat in the dark in my apartment, staring at my glowing computer, every trace of sadness burned out and replaced with pure fury. I called Chloe Bennett, my closest friend and now a senior paralegal. The words tumbled out. I read her the dates, the numbers. Chloe got quiet. Alina, this isn't just bad parenting. This is tax fraud. What? I said, not following. If your parents took all that rent, they had to report it to the IRS. If they didn't, that's federal. Huge penalties. Let me find someone for you. 3 days later, I sat in the office of Raymond Cross, a sharp forensic accountant, precise, intimidating. I slid over a folder full of bank statements, each payment marked in yellow. All transfers are here, I said. The memos clearly say rent and mortgage support. Property records show the mortgage was finished before I started paying a dime. Mr. Cross studied the papers, scribbled notes, then looked at me. Who does your parents' taxes? I felt my stomach drop as the pieces snapped together. My sister, Victoria, she's their CPA. She's done the taxes for 10 years. He set his pen down. Then this is a conspiracy. If they failed to report that income, and your sister signed those returns knowing the truth, she didn't just look the other way. She made it possible. And now, Alina, you have leverage they never saw coming. 5. The Velvet Trap. 4 days later, the formal invitation showed up at my door. And honestly, even the envelope felt heavy with old money. Cream cardstock, gold letters flashing like a dare. You are cordially invited to celebrate the formal engagement of Victoria Alina Vance to Julian Sterling Thorne III. Join us at the Briarwood Grand Ballroom, Saturday, November 18th, at 6 o'clock in the evening. Julian Thorne III, classic, blue-blooded Chicago royalty. His father, Harrison Thorne SR, built a legend as the city's top corporate tax lawyer, the kind of guy who makes sure the wealthiest never lose a dime. Museums, hospitals, the Thorne name pops up on plaques all over the city. Marrying Julian didn't just mean Victoria was in love. She'd reached the summit of the social mountain. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of it. Mom. Alina, darling, I assume you got the Briarwood invitation. Her voice practically fizzed with excitement. I just opened it, Mom. Wonderful, you must look elegant, dear. Not flashy, just perfect. The entire Thorne clan will be there. Remember, we have to look united tonight. Nothing matters more, not a thing. I wouldn't miss it for anything, I said, still staring at those gold letters. She wasn't done. I heard that tone shift, syrupy and sharp. One more thing, she went on. Your father and I expect you to stand up and give a little toast about Victoria. Just a few minutes, say what an accomplished older sister she's been, how you've always looked up to her. My knuckles turned white around the phone. You want me to stand on stage and sing Victoria's praises in front of the Thornes? Don't be difficult, Alina. It's just a toast for your only sister. The Thornes put family first. They need to see us adore each other. Something heartfelt, please. We know you'll nail this, sweetheart. She hung up. No chance to argue. They really believed they still had me on a leash, that after 8 years of slowly scraping me for cash, I'd just get up and perform, bending the knee to the golden child who set the whole thing in motion. So I called Chloe right away. The engagement gala is in 3 weeks. You're coming. As your plus one, Chloe asked. I looked out at the city lights. No, as my legal witness. 5 days before the gala, Raymond Cross called me to his office. The room was nearly dark except for his desk lamp blazing down on a thick audit. The trail is complete, he said, nudging the file my way. From 2015 to 2023, your parents didn't report a dime of rental or secondary income. No Schedule E, they hit all $254,400. I ran my fingers over the neat columns of numbers. Tax preparer. Raymond pointed. Signed right here, Victoria Vance. Licensed CPA, registration number IL987542. She didn't just orchestrate this, Alina, she certified it. As a CPA, that's not just fines. She's looking at losing her license for good and possible charges. I closed the folder. I have a speech to write. 3 days out, my father did something he's never done. He called me himself. Alina, his deep voice filled my ear. Heard your tribute is ready. It's finished, Dad. Good, because I'm speaking just before you. I'll talk about the Vance legacy, how we lift each other up. A chill ran through me. What do you mean, contributions? Just acknowledging everything that made Victoria's success possible, including your quiet years with us. It's time we recognize that sacrifice. He hung up. The trap couldn't be clearer. This wasn't a speech. It was a PR stunt in front of billionaires. Dad would paint me as the dependent younger sibling, always the charity case, so if I ever spoke out, I'd look bitter and unstable. Then Victoria called. Her voice was shaky, the edge almost fraying. Alina, just checking in about Saturday. What's up, Victoria? She hesitated. Mom and Dad get overwhelming when it's high society. If Dad says anything odd, just let it go, okay? Please, no scenes. They really do mean well. I almost laughed. Do you honestly believe that, Victoria? Sharp silence. Then I know things haven't always been fair. I know you've had it tough. But this is the most important night of my life. Can you help me keep it together just this once? I'm not planning drama, I said. See you Saturday. Chapter 6. The Briarwood Ballroom. The Briarwood Grand Ballroom looked like a palace from some other era. Towering ceilings, enough crystal to blind you, and endless windows that spilled out onto a gold-tinted golf course caught in the last light of November. I wore a midnight navy silk dress. It fit perfectly, subtle and smooth, nothing loud. Just enough to vanish in the crowd until I was ready to be seen. At the door, I counted, about 120 guests. The Thornes held court up front, right near the stage. Harrison Thorne, SR, looked like a general with his silver mane and that rigid posture. His wife, Catherine, sat beside him, swathed in pearls, every inch rehearsed perfection. Julian III, Victoria's fiancé, stood at the bar, looking expensive but forgettable, while Victoria herself seemed moments from unraveling. My parents intercepted me. My mother's smile stretched like plastic wrap. Alina, you're here, she hissed, still scanning the room. Come say hello to Harrison and Catherine now. In a minute, Mom, I said, catching a glimpse at table 5. That's when I saw my boss from the nonprofit, Karen Ostrowski, already seated. Didn't realize she'd be here, but then it hit me. The Thornes bankroll our annual fund. Suddenly, my work world and personal hell were colliding. Table 9, Mom murmured, gesturing to the farthest back corner by the kitchen doors. That's you. We kept the main tables clear for the Thornes executives. No seat at the family table, just the cold, loud chaos near the catering staff. I nodded. Sure. Chloe was already at 9, calm and polished, white wine in hand. One look told me she was ready, voice recorder primed and running. Dinner dragged on, filet mignon, fancy wine, everything over the top. I ate because it gave me something to do besides think. At 8:15, the room hushed as someone tapped a spoon on a glass. Time. My father stepped to the podium, every bit the patriarch. Good evening, distinguished guests, colleagues, and esteemed Thornes, he started, voice echoing through the room. All polite smiles and applause. He went on, praising Victoria, valedictorian, CPA, joining a great Chicago family. The applause thundered. Victoria leaned into Julian, glowing. But then he shifted. Tonight, he said, making eye contact with me in the dark corner. We must also recognize our younger daughter, Alina. I sat up. For 8 years, Alina lived with us in the basement, he went on, painting it like some grand self-sacrifice. She contributed profoundly, keeping our family afloat through challenging times. A sympathetic murmur floated across the room, the familiar look. Poor, struggling Alina, the charity case. He wasn't done. As Alina knows, true family means sacrifice, he said, raising his glass. May her quiet, generous spirit continue as Victoria begins her next chapter, to family. To family, the crowd echoed. I didn't move a muscle. Harrison Thorne, SR, was staring at my parents with the cold calculation of a man who smells trouble. And now, Dad said, smiling straight at me, Alina will say a few heartfelt words about her sister's journey. The spotlights cut across to table 9. I smiled, stood, and walked the long aisle. Karen Ostrowski nodded encouragement from table 5. Dad pressed the mic into my hand, hissing, "Keep it short, don't embarrass us." I looked out at the faces. Chandeliers blazing, Victoria trembling, Harrison Thorne waiting. Chapter 7. The Accounting of Truth. "Thank you, Dad," I said, my voice steady, every eye pinned to the stage. I let the silence build a little while. "My father mentioned I spent 8 years supporting our family from their basement," I said. "That's true. For 96 months, I paid $2,650 cash rent every month. Quick math, that's $254,400. The crowd shifted. People started whispering. "I paid," I continued, "because my parents told me the mortgage was crushing them. $2,650 was, apparently, fair market rate. I believed them. I wanted to help." I looked at my mother, saw the color drain from her face. My father gripped the table like a lifeline. "But 6 months ago, I discovered something interesting," I said, raising my voice. "The official Cook County records show my parents paid off their entire mortgage in April 2014. Silence, even the air felt frozen. "That's a year before I moved in. For 8 years, they collected $250,000 from me for a debt that didn't exist." "Alina," Dad's voice boomed, panic cracking through. "What the hell are you doing? Stop this now. This is your sister's night." Mom rushed forward, mask totally gone, shouting, "She's unstable. She's confused. Ignore her, she's had a rough work year." I cut her off, loud and clear. "I'm not confused. I'm not under stress. I run financial compliance for a nonprofit. I know what fraud looks like." Harrison Thorne SR rose, eyes locked on me. "Young lady," he called, his legal voice echoing, "do you have records, timestamps?" 8 years of bank statements, Mr. Thorne," I answered. "Every transfer time-stamped, memo line, rent and mortgage support." He turned to my father, then Victoria, who looked ready to faint. "Arthur," Harrison said, his voice like ice, "if this is true, collecting unreported rent on a paid-off house, this isn't family drama. These are serious compliance issues." Dad was sweating now. "Harrison, it's complicated. These were maintenance costs, upgrades, utilities. $254,400 in basement repairs." Harrison shot back, eyebrows raised. Mom shrieked, pointing at me. "She's jealous. Alina's always jealous. She'd say anything to ruin Victoria." Catherine Thorne stood up, pearls sparkling, face set. "Perhaps we should end this spectacle and handle things privately. Right now." I set the mic down. "I'm done," I said softly. "I just wanted the truth on record." I headed off the stage, passing Victoria. She sat frozen, staring at her plate. Her face was pure fear. In that silence, I understood. She wasn't just scared of embarrassment. She knew exactly what Raymond Cross found. She knew the game was up, Chapter 8, the architecture of betrayal. I didn't bolt out of the room or make a scene. I slipped between the crowded tables with purpose, every step steady, even as the city's sharpest eyes followed me. People murmured, stared. I could feel it, but I kept walking. Chloe didn't miss a beat. She stood, matched my stride, phone tucked safely away in her clutch. "Everyone's freaking out in there," she whispered, barely containing her rush of adrenaline. "Harrison Thorne looks ready to call a board meeting. Where are you going?" "I need air," I said, pushing open the heavy French doors and stepping onto the stone balcony. The air out there stung, icy and raw, but it felt honest. Down below, the golf course rolled away in darkness, touched here and there by the glow of soft lighting. I gripped the frozen railing, closed my eyes, and drew in a breath so full my lungs ached. 8 years I'd worn guilt like a coat, sure I was less, sure I owed them everything. And now, 5 minutes after it all unraveled, the world didn't end. I was still here. My phone buzzed hard in my pocket. It was Raymond Cross. "Miss Vance," he said, and even on the phone his voice sounded like gravel, cold, precise. "I'm in my office. I've just received a secure update from a contact at the State Department of Financial and Professional Regulation." My chest tightened. "What did they find, Mr. Cross?" He didn't sugarcoat it. "Your sister Victoria didn't just sign those fraudulent returns, Alina. The tracking codes prove she built the entire corporate shell herself. She routed your rent into a private holding account so it'd never flag with the IRS. She didn't turn a blind eye. She orchestrated all of it. My eyes closed, and a cold tear slid down my cheek. Can you send that confirmation to my personal inbox right now? It's already there. It's ironclad. If you file a formal complaint with the CPA board tonight, they'll freeze her credentials by Monday. Thanks, Raymond, I said quietly and hung up. Behind me, the balcony door creaked open. I didn't turn. Victoria's perfume rushed into the cold, cutting through everything. I didn't even need to look. Alina, she said, and her voice shook, furious, desperate. I tucked my phone into my pocket, turned to her. She leaned in the doorway, lit up in gold from the ballroom behind her. Perfection on the surface, dazzling ring, perfect makeup, every detail backlit. All except her eyes, those were empty. All right, Victoria, I said, calm as anything, leaning against the stone. Let's actually tell the truth tonight. Victoria stepped out, letting the door shut behind us, wrapping us up in the cold. She crossed her arms, the wind taking her hair. What the hell do you think you just did in there? She spit out, her voice all venom and panic. You made a mockery of Mom and Dad. You turned my engagement party into a tabloid circus. Do you know who the Thorns are? You ruined everything I've worked for. I shook my head, somehow soft with her. No, Victoria, I stopped lying, that's all. I stopped letting you pay for your condo with money Mom and Dad squeezed out of me. I stopped funding your life with my pain. She gave me an unhinged laugh, empty, bitter. Oh, here we go, the tragic Alina monologue. The world isn't fair, Alina. So what if they used your money to fund my condo? I'm the Vance family's prize. I'm the one they invested in. And that's fine, I said softly. But you built it on tax fraud, didn't you? She stopped, cold, color draining from her face. What are you talking about? I didn't let her off. Raymond Cross, I said, and I watched her crumble. I have everything, full records. The shell accounts you built to hide my $254,400, your CPA license, your number on fraudulent returns. She reached for me, voice cracking. Alina, don't. We're sisters. If you go to the board, I'll lose my practice. I could face real time. Julian's father, the Thorns, they'll cut me out if they find out. I'll lose everything. I pulled my hands back. Where was any of this when I was living next to a drainage ditch? Where was your conscience when you were signing those forms, buying new dresses with my future? She broke, sobbing now. It was Dad's plan. He made me do it. He said we had to keep the family's money together. Please, Alina, don't destroy my life. Before I could say anything, a figure stepped from the shadows, the dark corner of the balcony. It was Harrison Thorne SR. He'd been standing there the whole time, just listening, face like stone. You don't have to worry about Alina destroying your life, Victoria, he said, rough and sharp. He walked toward us, looking down at Victoria with pure disgust. The Thorne Family Management Group is ending all ties with your firm, tonight. As for my son, he won't be marrying someone who brings legal risk to this family. Victoria let out a raw, broken sound and collapsed against the wall. Harrison turned away from her and looked at me. For a moment, his harsh expression softened. He reached into his coat, pulled out a heavy silver card, and held it out. Alina, he said, quieter now, Karen Ostrowski speaks very highly of your compliance work. Tonight, you showed real courage. If you ever want to leave the nonprofit world, my firm has a senior asset auditor opening. Name your salary. I took the card, glancing back at the glowing ballroom, where my parents were now surrounded by gossip. I slid the card into my pocket with the rest of my proof. Thank you, Mr. Thorne. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I'll be in touch Monday morning. I walked inside, not looking back at Victoria, not looking back at any of them. I crossed the ballroom, straight into a future that finally, really belonged to me.